obviously I've been around a lot of boys that maybe now might be actually be playing in the Premier League. A few of my mates are playing in the Premier League. I'm going, hold on a minute, 2-3 years ago I was playing with them, and now all of a sudden they're flying in the Premier League, and now I'm working and playing non-league football.
But is there ever a time where you've seen like a brand deal come across your desk and you're like, that's 10 games. What if I just locked in on that?
Yeah, there has been a couple of times. Like, I was so fortunate to be at a Premier League club from 10 to 19, 20 years old, to now all of a sudden I get released at 20, and I was probably quite naive at the time, thinking I'll be all right, I'll find somewhere. I've been at a Premier League club, and actually it's not like that at all.
Is the gap in quality that big between the top level and let's say the level that you're at now? When you got given the ultimate hammer blow, the ultimate uppercut, the ultimate which is thanks for 10 years, mate, but what lessons did you learn about yourself in that moment in time that you still use today?
One of the first things I did when I got released was...
Hey guys, welcome back to the Gooms Podcast. Today we sat down with Toby, an online creator who had his dreams ripped away from him at 18 when he was released from Brighton Football Club. Toby has gained a following of over 130,000 people online and is still pursuing his dream of one day becoming a professional footballer. We spoke about what it really takes to become a professional athlete, how he dealt with setbacks in his personal life and with football, and what really drives him forward. Thank you for all the support on the podcast. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and enjoy the episode.
What was it like for you personally, brother, being released from an academy after 10 years, a Premier League academy after 10 years, and then having to transition into non-league football?
Yeah, I think it's a struggle is probably the best way to put it. It's always tough. Being sort of anywhere for 10 years, which I would probably call my home, I spent more time there than I probably did at school or with family members. So for me, coming out of that environment was so tough. And then that transition into being somewhere so professional to maybe you're somewhere where football isn't actually the priority for everyone. So they've got work, they've got kids, families, which of course that's their priority. But for me, all I ever had from a young age was football. So then that transition of everything is football to now I've got to think about so many different things in literally like a blink of an eye. It changes so quickly. And I think what was tough was trying to stay in professional football. And I had never experienced being released from the age of 10. I was so fortunate to be at a Premier League club from 10 to 19, 20 years old, which was so rare. So now all of a sudden I get released at 20, never experienced that. And I was probably quite naive at the time, thinking, I'll be all right, I'll find somewhere. I've been at a Premier League club. And actually it's not like that at all. It's...
Especially at that age, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does that convo go down with the club when they sit you down and break the news to you?
I think, to be honest with you, I was probably expecting it. It was one of them. My last season at the club wasn't the best. I was injured a lot, hardly ever played. I think you can tell, but at the same time, you still have that bit of hope that you're going to get kept on or things are going to be fine. And the conversation is sort of like us as we are now, just sat in a room, and one side of the table, on the other side of the table, they just lay it to you straight. They sort of obviously try and justify it to make you feel better at the time, but deep down all you can hear is you're no longer at the club, probably because you're either not good enough or you're just not wanted here anymore. That's the brutal reality of it. And then after there's limited sort of contact, which can be good, because for me I just wanted to get away. I kind of just went home after, went and saw my parents, spoke to them. But for obviously me personally, where I was kind of expecting it wasn't too bad right there and then. It was more the months after, with everything that happened, which that's what I struggled with mainly.
When you're like 20 years old and you've spent the last 10 years of your life in an academy, your headspace is just, I want to be a pro. I want to play football. I want to play football. You've obviously missed out on college. I can imagine you've probably... I mean, you sat your GCSEs and you did all of that kind of stuff.
We used to miss 2 days a week of school. So you missed a bit of schooling in the last few years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you've come out with, like, no real qualifications, no life experience outside of the game of football, and they've now told you, okay, right, we no longer need you here. Like, good luck in the real world kind of thing.
Yeah.
What was that kind of like for you, and what did you do when you realised, okay, maybe there's not another club here waiting for me? What was the decision there? Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I think Fortunately, with sort of the way the Premier League sort of set things up now, you do your BTEC at the club, because obviously you have to stay in education till you're 18. So you do a BTEC, but it's very minimal. Like I learnt a few bits, and it was on a subject which we weren't really given a choice. We had to do it. And that might not necessarily be an interest for every single one. Like there was 20 of us maybe in that squad or so, and we're all doing the same course. You're telling us that all 20 are going to have the same interest? Probably not. So I think now they're sort of working on ways where the boys can sort of pick their own sort of BTECs and stuff they may be interested in, because it's important to have that.
Was it like sports science or some stuff like that?
Yeah, sports science. So obviously football, sports science, I think the two and two go together. Don't get me wrong, I'm interested in it. Do I see it as a career for myself? Probably not, no. But at the time, I'm not thinking about that. At the time, I'm thinking, okay, you're just doing that because you have to, which most boys see that as you have to do it. And then our football is the number one. So yeah, coming away from that. And I think what I found difficult was not finding that new club. I went on a few trials at places. I had a deal, unfortunately, that fell through. Beforehand, when people used to tell me deals would fall through, I'm like, what are you talking about? Surely it's like you sign it. But now I actually understand what it means by when a deal falls through.
What does it mean what does it actually mean then when a deal falls through?
So sometimes there's verbal agreement. So I had a club going, now we'd love to sign you. This would be your role. They speak to you about this. We want to get this set up within a week or so. You agree. Sometimes you can agree personal things, and sometimes it literally is just verbal. And then what it was for me was I got offered this, and then like 2-3 days later, we still hadn't heard anything, like nor me or my agent. We're okay. So we touched base with them. They're like, oh yeah, it's fine. We're still just getting the basically figures done by the owners, because the owners give the budget, so they have to give it the all clear. And I'm thinking, okay, week goes by, still nothing. And then you're starting to go, okay, what's going on here? And then you message, and then all of a sudden, you might not hear from them for 4 or 5 days. Well, I didn't. And then you get that message that goes, oh no, sorry, owners haven't approved the budget. And you're like, okay, now I'm stuck. Because in my head, I'm thinking, all right, perfect. I'm in a club, that's going to be me set. And then all of a sudden, deal falls through. So yeah.
What league was the club in, if you don't mind me asking?
League Two.
League Two, so it would have still been professional, right?
Yeah.
You know, when they come back and say budget isn't there or whatever, is there a part of you that's like, all right, yeah, just lower my wages? Like, just give me a contract? Or
I think it's one of them where, to do with my position as a goalkeeper, I was going in as like a number 2/3 sort of role. And sometimes the owners might not actually give a budget at all for that. And we weren't asking for a lot personally. And a lot of it is sometimes to do with relocation. Obviously, where I'm based down south, the team was up in like the Midlands way. So I would have had to move out. And obviously they have to help pay for that. There's something called like relocation package. Yeah. So that's included in their budget. So yeah, overall they just weren't able to clear it, because wages wise, we weren't really asking for a lot, because for me, I just wanted to be back in that professional sort of environment. And it felt like the perfect club for me to go into. The manager had a brilliant way of playing. It suited my style. And when I was there, I was at the club for about a week or so. The boys were lovely, and I was like, okay, this will be a perfect fit. And it was quite a big club as well. But unfortunately, like I say, the deal fell through, and now I know how it feels for a deal to fall through.
Yeah. So what was the next steps for you after you got that news?
I think I was still trying. I was still waiting. I was speaking to my agent like every other day. Is there anywhere for me to go on trial? Is there anywhere to go in? I think what was so difficult, because my last year at Brighton, I didn't really play a lot. You're only really in the shop window when you're playing. And because I wasn't playing, I was kind of just off the radar. So I've gone, okay, I just need to go and play. No matter where that is. I went on loan when I was 17 to Step 3 football. So I was like, okay, I'll find a club. I was like, surely someone in Step 3 will probably want to take me. I played that a few years ago. Someone came in, offered me an opportunity in Step 3 just to play some games. I thought, wow, if I play 4, 5, 6 games, all of a sudden these clubs might go, oh, Toby's available and he's playing. But then the harsh reality of football hits. I played 2 games, done my ankle ligament. I'm out for like 3 months. So I'm like, okay, now it's just hit me. I can't play football for 3 months. I'm not employed. So I've gone from earning from 15 up to 19, 20, and now I'm going to have a period of time where I'm not earning any money, which is going to be so rare for me, and I can't play football. So now I'm completely off the radar. I'm not even playing non-league. So that's where I found that transition was so tough, because I had about 3 months where I was just sat there like not doing anything and was literally just twiddling my thumbs going, what am I going to do? Because for me, like, and it still is now, football is my number one priority. Like, I still think I'm good enough to be a professional footballer. It's just you have to have different areas when you're not actually a professional footballer, because do I want it to happen? Of course, but I also know that football, it doesn't always give you what you want. So I think I have to keep the option open, because otherwise, if I just go not all in, of course I'm going to go all in on football, but like I say, it's a harsh game. It doesn't treat everyone well.
I said it to you the first time we spoke. Football was my first love and my first heartbreak. I still stand by that.
Literally.
It's a nasty motherfucker sometimes.
Mate, you try and like hold on, and I'll always hold on. Like I love that group environment. Like obviously I said to you, we had a game yesterday, and the boys after, and win, lose or draw, you're all together, and that feel of a football club is, for me, you can't beat it. It has that sort of family feel, because I've had that feeling since I was 8 years old. Being in a team is what I love. So for me, I'll always love it. It's just like you say, it breaks you sometimes, because you put so much in, and then, like I say, it doesn't always treat you well.
Yeah.
And it's also difficult, because obviously I've been around a lot of boys that maybe now might actually be playing in the Premier League. A few of my mates are playing in the Premier League. I'm going, hold on a minute. 2-3 years ago, I was playing with them, and now all of a sudden, they're flying in the Premier League, and now I'm working and playing non-league football. So, yeah.
At what point along this timeline did you pick up a camera and start documenting and start posting on your social channels?
Yeah, I think I was working with a glove brand at the time that were quite big on social media. So I jumped in with a lot of their sessions. And obviously I enjoyed them. Like, the camera was about, I was flying around, like, he's not going to love that. So I was like, okay, I might as well start posting it on my channel. And then all of a sudden, like, a few videos just started to just blow up, really. A few went viral, hit a few million views. And I was like, okay, this is something I can maybe think about doing. Then you have a bit of interest from companies want to work with you. So yeah, I was like, okay, people enjoy the content. I need to train, because I had to train, because I wasn't training full time. Even if I was at a non-league club, I was only training twice a week, and sometimes it wasn't very goalkeeper specific. I might do some goalkeeper training for half an hour, but for me that wasn't enough in the week. So I tried to sort of treat it like I'm back in a full-time aspect. Like, you'd train, say again, it'll be a Saturday, you'd train Monday, Tuesday, normally off for recovery Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then a play on a Saturday. So for me, I was only getting 2 sessions in instead of 4. So if I could even just get 3 sessions in a week, at least that's extra, and it's pure goalkeeping. So I'll do that for 2 hours. I thought, well, might as well film it because people enjoy it. And yeah, like, luckily, I put a lot of work into it, but people have enjoyed it, which obviously I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, for sure. What was it like when you had that first video go a bit crazy? Like, what was that feeling?
It's a strange one. I think a bit of shock. So I was posting, and they were just getting like 3, 4, 5K views. I was like, sweet, that's nice. And then all of a sudden, I had one video and it got like 1.6 mil. I was like, wow. And then all of a sudden, you see your followers. I think it was Christmas last year. Week before Christmas, I was on like 8,000 followers. Week after Christmas, I was on like near 20. And I was like,
that's sick.
That is like, the reach was crazy just to think about people and then people start messaging you and like asking for advice and just things like that. And you go, hold on. For me, I've always wanted to like help. I've always been into coaching and stuff like that. So if any way I can sort of help people and inspire people with my videos, then yeah, I was like, sweet, let's just do this more often and see where it takes me. And then fortunately, I had a lot of businesses come in, and like you say, it's a form of like marketing. So they're gonna, if I'm reaching loads of people, they're probably gonna want to use me to help promote their products. So it works both ways. So works for me as a job, but I also really enjoy it. So I'm very lucky that I've gone into that with something I enjoy, because I know lots of boys that have come out of football and they just go get a job because you have to. You've got to pay the bills. Some of them have rent and all that sort of stuff. So you can't always just go and do something you enjoy and pay the bills. So I've been very fortunate that for me, I'm able to do something I enjoy and it pays the bills.
You're saying paying the bills. Obviously, now you're playing at a non-league level. I mean, I don't need specifics. I mean, we spoke about it briefly before we started rolling, but like, what is the money actually like in a non-league environment? Because I feel like people don't really understand how silly sometimes it can be, like what people are getting paid at certain levels to play football.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the club. Obviously, clubs have their weekly budgets. It's normally set what they can pay players per week. So I think that the clubs, like you'll have some step 4 clubs that will probably have bigger budgets than step 2 clubs. But what you do get is you'll get some players that might be on £800 a week, and you'll get some players that are on £200 a week. So the scale is crazy. It tends to sort of balance its sort of way out when you go a bit higher in the leagues. Don't get wrong, like your Man Cities, you'll have your like De Bruyne on like £350,000 a week, and you might get someone who's on £40,000 a week. So obviously it all depends. Like your striker who's going to score you loads of goals, of course he's going to get paid more money because he's more valuable. But in non-league, a lot of it depends on the club. But some it's frightening because a lot of people aren't on contract. So clubs are willing just to sort of chuck money because they go, okay, if it's not working, there you go, see you later. And then you're not committed to paying them. So it's crazy.
Like a pay per game kind of thing.
Yeah, so a lot of it's like non-contract. So if you don't have a game one week, you won't get paid. A lot of clubs, some non-league clubs now, put players under contract because you've seen now non-league's getting a lot more attention. At Lewis, the club I'm at now, a couple of seasons ago, there's a boy called Ollie Tanner. He got signed by Cardiff in the end. So Lewis would have made money from that because he was under a contract. But if he was on a non-contract, he would have just been able to leave for free because he's not obligated to stay. You can just go if you want to.
By the way, sorry. I was just going to say, by the way, the pitch at your place is just ridiculous.
Mate, it's unbelievable. I called it, we probably have the best or one of the best pitches in non-league football. It's stunning. And we have a brilliant groundsman who does so much work to it, but we are so blessed.
Yeah.
We say it to ourselves as boys, like, if we can't play football on that, we can't play football. Like, we'll go to away games, obviously it's going to be tough, but we're like, if we play at home and we can't play football, then like, when are we ever going to be able to play football?
It makes such a difference, though, doesn't it?
Mate, massively.
Surface makes such a difference.
Yeah. You just know, like, you pass a ball in, it's just not bobbling, it just slides and they water it. Like, I'm not a massive fan of like artificial pitches. They're just not for me. You can't beat like a nice looking grass pitch. You know what I mean? Like you turn up, you go, nah, that's nice. And you turn up, you go, it's an Ashtray. Like, oh, I've been training on that all week. Do you know what I mean? So for me, you can't beat a grass pitch.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I feel like having the following on social media kind of goes hand in hand with getting picked up by like one of the bigger clubs in England.
Yeah, potentially. I've had it both ways. I've had some people going, do you think that's going to hold you back? Do you think it'll put people off? I'm going, why would you think it's going to put someone off? Like, my content isn't stupid content. It's goalkeeping. It's me training. Like I'm not doing stupid stuff on social media. I'm not doing anything rude, not doing anything offensive. So why would that do anything negative to a football club? I think potentially it could do some positives.
You're in the shop window.
Yeah, exactly. And some clubs really like it. There's a lot more clubs now on social media that are trying to make a presence on social media. It builds a good fan base, especially a younger fan base. So I was like, okay.
If we just sign this brand new keeper, handsome lad, bit something about him, 100 plus followers on the IG, like obviously that's going to help them build their brand as well, right? Yeah,
and it, like you say, it brings a new audience. Because I think it needs that, especially non-league football. It always gets the craft of maybe slightly older people go in, they sit down, they have a beer and all that sort of stuff. The younger generation need something socially. They want to go to the games because they've seen maybe someone post on TikTok or post on Instagram. There's a team called Eastbourne Borough, not too far from us. They've been smashing out their social media, and now they've got such a good presence, and they're now very well known for their social media, and they get in a lot more.
Their ticket sales have gone up.
Yeah, because they're getting a younger audience.
And I bet their budget goes up for the players. And
Exactly.
I bet they start making their way up the ranks more. Yeah. Like, it has a direct correlation. Yeah. Eyeballs is attention. The more attention you get.
Look at Wrexham.
Well, I mean, obviously backed by a shitload of money as well. But it's the personal brands that come with it as well. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, a Disney documentary doesn't half help as well.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, it brings players there. Like, if you had the choice of like a Wrexham or maybe another League 2 club, and you wanted to build that social presence, like Ben Foster, was perfect for him to go there. I mean, he probably would have had loads of offers elsewhere, but
Why would he not go there?
He's gone there because that's benefited him with what he does now. So, and a lot of players are doing it. A lot more. You see a lot more players, especially League One, League Two, because these boys can't retire off the money they earn. I don't know how good their investing is, but it's one of them. A lot of the boys won't be able to retire off being on League One, League Two wages, because even if they're playing in that league for 10 years, which is an incredible achievement alone, the money you've earned, if you span that out from like an average work life of, let's say 25 to 55, I don't know what the average age of retiring, it works out to be pretty similar because they retire at 35. Mm-hmm. So they're thinking, okay, what am I going to do after? That isn't necessarily your coaching or stuff like that. So they're now looking at that social presence because they've got such a big audience right now. They might as well use that to their advantage. So they start it now whilst they're playing because they've got the time to, and then they take it on for their future jobs because they're going to need a job because they can't retire off the money they've earned from just playing in League One, League Two for 10 years.
Was there any strategy in like your head when you started to see? So it's been about a year now. So you said this time last year you were at 20k.
Yeah.
Not even yet. Not yet. You're at 8,000.
Yeah.
Now what is it?
I think 137,000.
Come on. First thing.
Yeah.
Second thing, when you start to see the numbers going up, is there any kind of strategy in your head like, okay, right, yes, I'm playing at a good level, I'm getting paid, and I want to go and do more. Yeah. But was there a thing in my head like, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe I can start like posting, and like you said earlier, the brands, or maybe starting my own thing, or trying to funnel the attention into other stuff, or like, was there any strategy? Or was it just a case of like, I want to put stuff out because it's what I'm doing?
To be honest, there probably wasn't much of a strategy. It was a lot of it was just I was enjoying it, and it kept me busy. Like I said to a lot of people, it kept me busy because I wasn't doing anything for a long period of time, so it kept me busy. And then, like I said, I saw the numbers come in, and I was like, okay, I was pretty much posting every day because it was important to grow. I had support with that. So yeah, it was one of them, like, I didn't really have a strategy, but when it started to do well, I was like, actually, okay, I'm just going to try and work out, right, what does do well, what isn't doing well, how can I get interactions, how can I build my followers up, because I think that's really important. It's still important for me right now to grow, it's important for everyone to grow, but I think a main focus is what your interaction's like. There's no point having 137,000 followers if not many are actually really interacting. They may be seeing it and going, that's nice, but they're not interacting. So that's why when I started doing a few YouTube bits and changed my content, because I wanted to get my personality out there. I feel like people have seen Toby, but they don't know Toby. So it was really important to get that out there, because I don't know, I like to think my personality is all right. So I wanted to put it out there. It wasn't
He's
just
a decent fella.
Yeah. So I didn't just want people just to see me as just Toby goalkeeper. I want them to see me as an actual person. So I got personality out there. So then people would have a bit more of a connection with me instead of just seeing it and going nice and scrolling off.
Well, you had us hooked on the YouTube. Yeah. We went and did a little bit of due diligence before you came. I think it was yesterday, and we just smashed through your whole YouTube. Yeah. the match day vlogs. We're like, oh, what's that? We're watching the next one.
Skip 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's what we were doing, bro. For real, man. And your personality does come across.
Yeah.
And it comes across really well. And like for me, I can kind of, because I played football growing up my whole life, like you're the keeper that everybody loved. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think there was one clip, where were you? Like some of the guys were a bit pissed off, and you're just taking your gloves off and you're walking into the middle of the pitch. You're like, boys, we just won. Come on, heads up. Come on. And I'm like, that's my goalkeeper. Do you get what I'm saying? So I kind of related to that. And I feel like your audience, I'm guessing the majority of them are goalkeepers, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Probably the majority will be goalkeepers, or just like non-league fans, or just football fans. But yeah, majority will be goalkeepers.
And you've got that relatability thing as well. Like, and it's so important, bro.
Yeah, because it was one of them positions where I always say it's really hard to understand unless you've actually played. I think it's like a lot of things, but yeah, there's always that you always get like some of your outfield players might comment. I'm like, hold on, here you go. You put a pair of gloves on. I'm going to smash some balls at you, and let's see how you deal with it. So from that goalkeeper's point of view, we all sort of understand. We all understand each other. Like we all get called weird.
You are
like all crazy. That's what I mean. And like, because we all get each other.
Yeah, you got a little bit of a screw loose to keep.
Yeah, we all do.
I've not played with one keeper that's like 100% there.
Nah.
And I haven't figured out what your like 1%, maybe 10 or 20% that's missing is yet. Yeah. But I feel like we'll figure it out.
The thing is, I always say it to people, it's like, you have to have a screw loose to like, for example, like winter now, it's freezing cold, it's wet. Who's going to want to stand in a goal and get peppered by footballs? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
And then the guys behind you as well.
It's not normal. Yeah, and the people behind you give you stick. Like, it's not a normal thing to do. And the only reason why I enjoyed it is obviously I had my older brother, and I said to you, I had an older brother who just used to shove me in goal. And weirdly, I just enjoyed just getting peppered by footballs and just stopping it. And it's more like sometimes the shock people have in their face when you put off a save or you get smashed in the face, you just get up, you're like, go on, the next one. And then people are like, what? Because it's so rare. So for me, it was different. I like to be different. And goalkeeping was that bit of difference for me being younger.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, bro?
Yeah. I remember when you asked me this question, we had the chat. Yeah, it's a really difficult one. I think ideally for me, where I said football is my main priority, I'd want to be playing professional football. That's my ideal situation, is playing pro football in 5 years' time, because I still believe I'm good enough. I believe I've got the right mentality for it. So yeah, that's where I want to be. But I also know that they say football doesn't always treat you like that. So I've always said I just want to be a better version of myself, whether that be like just each year. That's just a better version of myself as a person, as a family member, as a friend. Just be a better person. But yeah, from a football side, playing professional football. From a business side, want to grow my education. I think I've got a good education as it is, but I feel like I can do more. So maybe getting some more qualifications. And
what qualifications have you got, bro?
So I've currently got a master's in football business and management. I've got a UEFA B license in coaching. I've got BTECs, obviously my GCSEs, and then some other courses which we've done. I've done a Premier League Futures program and then some other courses at Brighton. So I'd say, being my age and the background I've had, and it's not like education has sort of been put to the side a little bit, playing football, I'd say I've actually got quite a good base in terms of education. For my age and where I've been.
Qualifications than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. So I think it was one of them. I want to build that, and I always want to grow that, because I want to learn. It's not necessarily has to be a certificate. It's whether that be from learning from experiences like the Futures program I did. We don't have a physical certificate, and it's not an actual degree or anything. But what I've learned from that course is, oh my God, like that will stay with me forever. So whether that's that sort of learning, and then from my social side, just keep growing it. Obviously, we had that chat of how can we take it to that next level. I think I've got to a really good point now, but okay, this is now where I can really take it seriously and sort of see it as like a business in itself, and start to grow that, because I've always been interested in business, hence why I took my course, because it's always something I've enjoyed. So how do I treat that as a business and want to grow that? But then I've also got my football, which I also want to grow. I think I've always said that to my parents, that if I had the perfect career and all of a sudden I'm playing Premier League football, I would still want to do something on the side or grow something on the side, because for me, I can't just have that like one thing, because say it's not going well, like this sort of when I experience with injuries, when it's not going well and you've just got that one thing, it feels like your whole life is just like hitting rock bottom. Whereas if you've got other things that, say, maybe your business is going well, or you're spending time with family, or like I like to go play golf. If you then have, like, if you're in a bad place, maybe football wise, you've then got them other things that helps bring you up. So for me, I play my best football when I'm happy. I think most people are like that.
Yeah.
So it's important for me to have them other things that help boost me, because then that will help my performance on the pitch, but then it also helps what I'm like off the pitch. Like I like to socialize. I like to be with my friends, be with my family. If I'm just negative, they're not going to want to spend time with me. So it's important that I have them other things that it uplifts my energy and what I'm like as a person.
Yeah. How do you go about getting back into professional football?
I think that's where I've sort of taken this season. Is my priority this season was just to play, not necessarily worry about the level, even though I'd say I'm playing at a good level for my age. I'm happy where I'm at, but I think I need to just play loads of games and sort of put myself in that shop window again. And not necessarily prove people wrong, but I would have had a lot of people that maybe would have known me from being that 10-year-old, being the Brighton boy or the local Brighton lad, to all of a sudden he's playing non-league football and he's working, as they call it. So I think putting myself in that shop window, playing loads of games, showing people my quality, and then that's all I can do. All I can control is what I do. I can't force someone to offer me a contract. I can't just walk into a football club and go, just sign me. Obviously, it's not how it works. So I have to put myself in the shop window. Yes, I can reach out to people, and I had a club in League One contact me recently about going in to train. But obviously, where I'm contracted at my club now, it just didn't work, and that's fine, because obviously they just wanted me to train. It wasn't an actual contract. So for me, it's like, okay, show my qualities, show what I'm good at, and then I believe that will be enough to make someone go, actually, this kid's got a bit, let's give him a chance. So I think it's just controlling what I can do, and that's doing the right thing and playing games, and hopefully I'll play them well, because this season so far, I'll probably say I have been playing well, but it's now I've got to show that consistently, because there's no point just signing a goalkeeper that's good every other game. With a goalkeeper, you need that trust. I think most managers these days, they'll pick a goalkeeper that they can trust. That's what's most important to them, because you have to be reliable in the big moments, because that's how you're defined, I think, as a goalkeeper. Everyone knows if you make a mistake, that's how people remember you. So it's the same the other way around. You have to be able to show them match-winning factors. If your team are under the cosh, you've got to be able to keep your team in it, and that's your job. So I think it's proven that, and for me, hoping that that's enough to make someone go, I'm going to give that kid a chance.
9 times out of 10, a mistake at your end of the pitch means a goal to the opposition. So
yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like I say, you could play so well. I think we had a game recently. It was a FA Trophy game. I made a mistake leading to the first goal, but after then, I think I made something like 7 saves or something, and I think 3 or 4 were high quality saves. And then we went into a penalty shootout. I saved one, and then I scored the winning penalty. Because I backed myself, I stick myself up, let's take a pen. So
were you number 5 or was it sudden death?
No, I was number 7, I think it was.
Don't back
7,
yourself
8.
that bad then.
Do you know what? I always put my hand in the middle. I was like, let me go. But obviously the players go, I was like, fine, whatever.
Yeah. I was fucking with you, by the way.
Yeah. I want to go top 5, but yeah, to be fair, their keeper went first. I was like, fair play. So yeah, I think it's one of them. It's like putting myself out there, and hopefully I say that's enough to get me that chance, because you need that. You need someone to trust you and to back you. And I'll go in somewhere, and if they go, okay, so you ain't going to play for the first year, or you're not going to come in as a number 1, fine. But at least I've got the chance where I'm in the door, and then I can train every day and prove that I'm good enough to play.
Yeah.
But also I think the other thing, which I need to work on, is probably I need to try and probably fill out a little bit, because looks, I think, is really important. Whenever people watch you, the first thing they see is you. They might not see your saves, and especially as a goalkeeper, having that bit of presence, I think you need that. So that's obviously another thing which I'm going to try and go away and work on. But at the same time, I don't want to get too big and bulky, because then all of a sudden I'm not doing what I'm good at, and which is making saves, because I won't be as agile and as reactive.
I want to pull it back towards the socials and the stuff that you've got going on. You mentioned working, like, now a couple of brands want to work with me and stuff like that. Is there ever a time where you've kind of, I mean, I know you said your priority is the football, and I know your socials is the football, but is there ever a time where you've seen like a brand deal come across your desk and you're like, fuck, that's 10 games, and been like, what if I just locked in on that?
Yeah, there has been a couple of times. Like, there's one, I'm not going to obviously name the brands, but there was one where they were willing to pay it something like $2.5 grand for a day. And the shoot was like 2 days. And I was like, wow, that's like $5 grand in 2 days. Which is crazy. But that's not every week. That's not every month. That's not something that happens all the time. So it's really different. Whereas with football, like I say, it's all year round. It's kind of like you're not 9 to 5, but that's your
security.
Your stable and your security. And I think with the social side, I probably wasn't at that position yet where I was seeing that stable income every single month or every week or even the year in itself. I think I'm probably getting to that stage now where I probably could just focus solely on that and be fine. So yeah, I think that it is difficult because it's not, they say them things don't come up every once a month until you can maybe stabilize them contracts in. Like I've just signed with a new glove brand and that's 2 years set in stone. So okay, that's perfect. Dope. So if you had like 5-6 of them, go happy days. And then you pick up your other bits here and there. So I think that's where I'm trying to get to. And like I say, if it gets to that point where there is bigger and better opportunities there, then I think that's probably a conversation I'd probably end up having with my parents, because I value their opinion a lot. Mm-hmm. For me, there's nothing that really makes me happier than seeing them on the sideline watching me play football, because I know they absolutely buzz off that. So a big one for me is, unfortunately, my granddad's not very well at the moment, so it's hard for him to get out of the house. But whenever I see him out the house, a lot of the time it might be him coming to watch me play football, and the smile it puts on his face, it just makes my smile even bigger. Mm-hmm. So that's another reason why I play my football. Yes, I enjoy it, but then it also brings my family so much joy because they've watched me. It's not just my journey, it's their journey as well. Like they drove me to training every single week for countless years. They were rushing from work to go and pick me up, or what my mum used to do was she'd then drop me off in the morning, and then she had to then rush off to work, and then she'd have to leave work early, and then we'll be sat in the car. She's on a work call. So they've done all that. So it's their journey as well as mine. So I want to be able to give that back to them. But I remember having a conversation with them where I was probably in a bad sort of space mentally, and I was just tempted to go, you know what, football ain't for me. And I was willing just to call it a day. And I think if I wanted to do that, if I said to my mum and dad and I went, look, I'm not enjoying my football anymore, they would 100% support me. But I think they also know deep down that might not be the truth. It's just that I'm just struggling with it at the time. So what can they do to help bring that joy? And I've had that this year. I've absolutely loved playing at Lewis. It's a brilliant club and they're so welcoming. So that brings me joy, the fact that, one, I'm happy playing football, but then my family and my support network are actually happy as well. So that's what I value a lot.
What determines when you're playing football happily and when you're not?
Environment's a big one, I think. Always having that like feeling of you're part of a group. Playing as well. Don't get wrong, I've had my times where I've not been playing, and you sort of like a training goalie, but maybe like a number 2. I've had that. But yeah, one's environment. 2 for me is I always want to play. So if there's opportunities there, I have to see opportunities for me to play. Unless someone's willing just to chuck me an absolute fortune to do like a Scott Carson role, then yeah, maybe I'll think about it. But for me, playing is so important. And yeah, I think just having the environment's important. That want to succeed. If you're in a group that are just happy where they are, for me, it's I need to see that progress. I want to be able to push. I want to go into every game winning. I think that's where we're sort of talking about that transition sometimes into non-league football. You've got some boys there that for them it's maybe a bit of extra cash, or it's just a bit of fun. Where for me, where I've always taken it so seriously, it's really important to want to succeed and compete. I'm not saying these boys don't want to compete, but there's some people. I wouldn't say there's anyone actually in my team now, but in changing rooms I've been in non-league, you can just tell that there's some people who are just happy where they are, and that's fine because they may be a bit older and they've had a decent career, but it's really tough going from that environment where we all want to succeed, we all want to do well, we all want to be professional footballers, to now you're just playing non-league football and some people are just happy where they are. And again, that's just all what stages we're at. And I think you get that even bigger in non-league because you have a lot of the youngsters that are still wanting to make it pro, and then you have a lot of maybe the senior boys that have their jobs, they have their families, and that's their priority. So it's hard to find that balance.
Is the gap in quality that big between the top level and let's say the level that you're at now? Or is it fine details? Fine details.
That's probably the perfect way to put it. Is literally fine details. We've got lots of talented boys in our group that could easily probably play professional football or National League football. it's just them fine details. Sometimes it is to do with a little bit of luck. Like you might just fall into the right place and all of a sudden you managed to play a load of games, you're set in stone. But for me, the gap's not massive. I think each step you go higher, like for me, the difference between maybe step 2 and step 3 in a non-league pyramid isn't that big. But then your top teams in step 2 and then your bottom teams in step 3, there's a big jump. I think National League, maybe to step 2, there's a huge jump because most of the clubs in the National League are full-time. So of course you're going to be better. You're training pretty much every day. You're basically a professional club at that point. But then from League 2 and National League, I probably don't think there's that much difference. So it scales. It is them fine details. And sometimes with the players, it might just be they've got bags and bags and bags of ability, but their attitude might not be the best. Or you might have someone that has the best attitude, works so hard, but not necessarily has the ability. So there's such a non-league I find quite funny because there's always that mix. If you've got some people that are with so much talent or raw ability, but it just didn't click, and then you've got some people that have just worked and they've managed to get themselves to probably the highest level which they'll probably play. And physically as well, that's another thing. Like everyone's seeing now the game is so different. Like you could be 6'3", absolutely rapid unit, and then scouts tend to look at that now more than they maybe look at the technical players that are a bit smaller, because if you are physically unable to compete, you can't compete. But if physically you can compete and then they can top you up on the technical bits, you can have yourself a good player. So I think now the way the game's gone, you have to be able to compete physically. That's why I said to you, like for me, I need to fill out. I need to get bigger to be able to compete. If I want to be a professional footballer, I need to physically be bigger and stronger. Otherwise, I won't be able to compete, and it's not going to happen.
Well, if Haaland's going up for a header and you got to come and catch it,
exactly. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of bigger people. Maybe we played the game yesterday, and some of the boys coming up against, like you stand like in the tunnel or you're waiting on the side, and so you're like, wow. Like, what's your gym program? And a lot of them say, "I don't go to the gym." I'm like, you're lying. I'm like, you're lying. There's no way. So yeah, it's one of them. Like physically, you have to be able to compete. So that's also a difference.
Mm-hmm. How tall are you, bro?
Let's say 6 foot. Let's say 6 foot.
Yeah,
with shoes on.
Obviously, like a lot of the goalkeepers that you see now, I mean, I think bar like David Raya, they're kind of like big boys, right? Do you feel like that's one of the reasons that maybe you haven't reached the level that you want to reach yet?
Potentially. It's quite funny you say that. The coach of the away team we played yesterday, he spoke to me after. He went, I reckon if you were a bit taller, you'd probably be playing pro. I was like, oh,
cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. I'm going to take that as a compliment, but it's kind of not at the same time. Yeah. So, I mean, potentially, I've had lots of people say, if you're a bit bigger, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not.
Same.
Like, yeah. But it's like, I can't do anything about it. So when I always say them controllables, I can only control what I can control. So for me, I'm going to have to work hard in the gym. I'm going to have to be big. Like I've worked a lot on my leap and my springs just so I can cover the goal. So now it's okay. I've now got to put on size so I can now compete, like say for them crosses and stuff like that. I think goalkeeping is one of them. It's obviously when you're bigger, you tend to be able to cover more. It's the same with like outfield players. If you're stronger, you're probably going to win more of your 50-50 battles, but that's not the be all and end all. You have to also technically be good. So I think for me, like technically, I'd say I'm very, very good. Technically, I'd say I'm a pro footballer. I'd happily say that with my technique. There's certain parts of my game that I would say are better than what pros can do. But then physically, I'm not the tallest, so I might not be able to cover as much area. So yeah, I think goalkeeping is one of them. You see now, obviously most of them are a lot bigger. But nothing stops you. Like you say, you're David Raya, there's a reason why he's there. You don't see as many of them because I just don't think as many get given the chance, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, he is technically beautiful though, isn't he?
He's brilliant.
And a couple of years ago, he was playing in League 2, right?
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I need to showcase my skills so then I can perform at a high level, because realistically it's that maybe physical side of the game which I need to be able to just show and be like, look, I can compete. So you can trust me playing in a game of football. And then what I bring is better than what you've got. Because what I can bring, I can spray a ball, I can sidewind, I can throw it, I can pick out a pass. So if I can...
I actually said to H, we were watching on your YouTube video and you took one out of your hand like that and you just hit it and it just don't move on the halfway line. I went, H, that's a fucking pin there, lad.
Yeah, so it's like if I can bring that, then... But then I'm also good at the other side of things, which they might find a concern. Then I don't see a reason why then you wouldn't pick me, because I'm already bringing you like an asset. So I'd call maybe my distribution or my technical skills. That's an asset. That's something that I'd always say was my star point. That's probably the reason I was at Brighton for so long. Realistically, I would say I was probably one of the best there with the ball at my feet from a goalkeeping perspective. So I think that's probably why I was there for so long. I think maybe what Brighton were just hoping for was for me just to get a bit bigger, and that just didn't happen. I've had them honest and open conversations with people there. They go, look, on the ball, technically, fantastic. Like you're what we want as a Brighton goalkeeper. Just waiting, hopefully, for you to fill out and be a bit bigger. And obviously, unfortunately, that didn't happen.
You said it's an asset, your distribution, bro, but I feel like as... specifically the Premier League, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I watch any of the other stuff. But like, as the game moves and progresses, like distribution from further and further back becomes more and more and more important.
Yeah.
So it might even be a case of like you getting those minutes in now, being in the shop window, showcasing that stuff, and also as well using your presence. Like if you did at the end of every game a video saying like every single ball that I passed today or something like that, throw in the shit ones and just do like a little count.
Yeah.
Make it like a theme or like a bingeable series that you can put out on your channel.
Yeah.
And if you're distributing 30 passes a game and your pass completion is like 97 and 50% of them are going over the halfway line, like that's going to catch some eyeballs.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's making sure that I'm doing them things and showing off my skills.
Your controllables.
Yeah, and then because then when you play at a better level, the passes tend to open up a bit more because they all of a sudden they understand on the same wavelength. Like if you're working on a full-time aspect, and I'm working with my defenders and midfielders, I'm working with them every day, all of a sudden them passes, it might not be 15 passes, it might be 30 passes, because as soon as I've got the ball, I know he's making that run. So, and you work on that, whereas obviously we had a game last night, and beauty of non-league football, one of my centre-halves I've never met before, because we've had an injury and he's just turned up. I go, oh mate, nice to meet you. Like, I didn't really know why you sat there, and he sort of explained it. I was like, oh sweet. And then the first time I met him, we're having to go out and play 90 minutes. So you're trying to think, okay, I've now got to be comfortable just giving him the ball. He's now got to be aware of where I am. I'm probably going to be very different to what he's used to. So then it doesn't always look as pretty as I maybe want it to. Mm-hmm. So I think it's balancing that and balancing my expectations. But also just doing the right thing, because people will understand that if they can't watch me play. I think the main thing is just doing the right thing. If I do that pass and maybe they haven't seen it on the same wavelength, maybe the scout might go, okay, I can actually see where he's thinking. Unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out because they haven't worked on it, or they're just not on the same wavelength. Whereas obviously when you play higher, because obviously with better quality players, then passes tend to open up a lot more.
Yeah. You spoke about wanting to succeed, being competitive. What mentality do you believe that it truly takes to make it?
I think it's just blocking out a lot of noise. Sometimes you have to block out a lot of noise. There's so many people that have so much judgment on you, especially with football. Like from a young age, I've been getting judged every single training session. You have coaches that judge you, and it's important you listen to them feedback. But then there's times when you just have to block it out and just focus on you, and you have to see that path. You go, right, that's what I want to achieve. What do I need to do to get there? And that mentality of wanting to win. I'm not just talking about winning in football games. I'm just talking about winning everything. Just them little wins of doing the right things. If you've had a good training session, that's a little win. Or if you've found something that you need to get better at, and then you work on it, that's a little win. So it's just having that want to win. But also there's times when you just have to block out everything and just focus solely on you, because there's so much noise in football. There's so many opinions. There's everything's going on, whether that be your teammates, your coaches, social media. There's so much going on. So there's times where you just have to block that out and just solely focus on you, because it's always next action. I always go with anything with football. It's always next action. If I've just done a goal kick, say we squeeze that long and I've kicked the ball out of the play, I'll go, okay, next action. I don't dwell on that. I used to be really bad at that, mind you. I used to be really bad. If I made a mistake, that used to bug me, and I used to show it. Whereas I've tried to work on, okay, if I've made not a mistake, or if I've had an action that hasn't gone well, or something's happened in the game, I'll go block that out. It's the next thing. It's always what's so important. I try and treat it similar with like golf. Obviously, I say where I like my golf. It's always the next shot.
If I just get in your head,
if I just hit a bad one, don't get me wrong, I will get angry. But it's always okay. Go on, next shot. So I treat that same with football, and I think it's the same with anything. Once something's happened, it's been and gone. Can't dwell on it. I always say it to people: it's gone.
You can apply so many lessons in football to life, bro. 100%.
Do you feel like the mentality that it takes to become a pro was mirrored when you were growing your online presence, monetizing it, creating a business out of it?
Yeah, 100%. I think the skills you learn in football, like you say, you can take into day-to-day life. So that want to succeed, that want to win. And then also the analysis side of things. Obviously with football, you look back at your games and stuff like that. Obviously I just spoken about next action, but that's in the moment. Mm-hmm. It's always important to reflect. The same with like data, when you're looking at ways to succeed as a business. Same with me. I'll look back on my high performing videos. I'll look back on my low performing videos. So taking the skills of analysis, data analysis, finding out what people works, what area as well, because that's another main thing. If a lot of my target audience is, if their main time they're on social media is 5 o'clock, okay, right, that's my prime time when to post, because that could be a difference of a post that goes really well or not so well. So using them skills of analysis as well, I've taken that from football into growing my social presence. And also the other thing I've done is a lot of it is just block out noise. Some people, when I first started doing it, like, what are you doing that for? And people judge. So yeah, I've just taken that as, I just put stuff out there. You know how it is with social media, the amount of comments you might get of people going, oh, you should do this, you should do that. I'm like, hold on, like, I'm just doing this. Yeah, I'm like, go on, you do it. And I'm just doing it pure entertainment. And don't get me wrong, I read it, and sometimes I value their opinion, but a lot of the time it might just be someone behind a screen who's like, if I parried a ball and it's gone out to someone, they've scored, they've gone, oh, goalkeepers don't catch anything these days. I'm like, okay, just block it out. And I think that's just how I've treated it with growing the social thing. It's something that I wanted to do when it sort of first started going. I've just taken the skills I've learned in football of just keep going. I think, like I say, it's similar with life. Keep going, next action, keep going. Now look back, what's done well? Okay, we'll push that. That hasn't done well, fine. That might do well in maybe a month or so time. It's the same with football, and it's the same going into games. What might work for you now, brilliant. But then all of a sudden that might change. Like we spoke about start of the season, we were like 5 from 5. And all of a sudden, we're doing the same things, but because teams are sussing us out, we've now got to do something different. So, yeah, I treat what I've learned in football the same with basically life as a whole, really.
I mean, I want to pull it back slightly, speaking about lessons that you've learned from football and how you apply them to your life. What lesson did you learn in that transitional period when you were released that you maybe take now into your day-to-day life? Because the majority of people that are listening to this, our audience, are mainly kind of guys that are entrepreneurial or just want to be the best version of themselves. And naturally, we're trying to achieve things like that. Yeah. You get thrown a lot of shit. And how you deal with it more often than not determines how successful you actually are in whatever field you're in.
Yeah.
When you got given the ultimate hammer blow, the ultimate uppercut, the ultimate, which is, thanks for 10 years, mate, but do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. What lessons did you learn about yourself in that moment in time that you still use today?
Yeah. Wow, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's a tough one. I think what I learned is don't get too low with the lows, and obviously don't get too high with the highs. Most people probably would have heard that saying, but I would have heard it, but I've never really taken that into practice. And it sort of hit me when I was probably at my lowest ever. And I did find it tough. And it's just fine. Like we're going to have maybe a couple of weeks where we're maybe not as productive or we don't get as much done. But then there's going to be times where, like you say, all of a sudden that deal might come on the table and you've just earned yourself $5,000 in 2 days. Don't get too high on that, because then you might have 2 weeks later where you get nothing. So it's important that we maintain. But them lessons I learned is, it's fine. You might have a couple of weeks where you are struggling, but just to keep chipping away and, like I say, next action. It's always that want and that drive.
I really like that, next action.
Yeah, and
it's like next brick.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
But I feel like it's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, and it's also trying to keep yourself happy. Like, one of the first things I did when I got released was obviously play a lot more golf, but I went on holiday. I spent time with my family. I spent time with my friends, because I sacrificed that, rightfully so. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I've now been given that sucker blow where I was down. I was upset. I was sad. Of course I'm going to be. So how can I surround myself and keep myself happy? Because when you are down, you're a bit low, you've got to find things that then drive you up, because otherwise you're just going to be stuck there. If you're not enjoying anything, you're just going to be stuck there. So you've got to try and surround yourself with them things you enjoy. And yeah, like I said, I went on holiday. I spent time with my friends, spent time with my family. Started to post on social media. So it's surrounding yourself with stuff that brings you up. Yeah, there's always going to be stuff in life that is going to chuck you on the floor. It's going to put you down. But if you've got them other things that just help keep you going, then overall, I think you'll put yourself in a good place.
I love that, bro. Yeah. We spoke about finding the medium literally 2 weeks ago. I mean, out of the two of us, I feel like H is slightly more stoic. He's very good at finding that level ground, whereas I am with the highs, I'll get very, very excited. Yeah. Fucking go, come on, yes, vamos. But then with the lows, like, they affect me more. And that is something that I am working on myself. And it's kind of, I'm happy that you've said it the way that you've said it. And one thing that I've done, and I also speak to somebody, I wouldn't call her a therapist, I'd call her more so like a life coach. Mm-hmm. But she said, like, if you look at yourself as like a big, long rope, there's multiple different strands within that rope. And work, relationship, football, socials, whatever it is that makes you, which is this rope, they're all different strands. If one of them goes a little bit loose for a little bit of time, like, your rope's still there. You just need to kind of like grab onto the other things that are going good to try and amend that. And like finding stuff like time with your family, trips away, hobbies like golf, doing the stuff that you love to uplift yourself back and to find that medium is so, so important. Yeah. And you can apply it to everything. Like you did with the football, and you can apply it to business, you can apply it in the gym, you can, whatever it is. Find that stuff that makes you happy and do more of it, and naturally you'll become happier. Like, it sounds simple, but it really is. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and enjoying it is also really important, because you've worked so hard for something. I say this sometimes a little bit to my brother, because he's been very successful with his business, but I don't know if he enjoys the success enough, because he's worried about if he enjoys it, that's maybe distracting him from
next step.
I'm like, actually, no, it's important that you enjoy that, and it's important that you treat yourself in life. There's no point just going through life and just work, and then you get to 60, and like you say, and it's different. I think you've got to live with the moment. There's times when you do have to enjoy it and reward yourself. Like, if you've done well in something, well done, pat yourself on the back, and then you go, next action. Yeah. So it's important. It's the same when things are going and really tough. They go, okay, you have a time, have a bit of reflection, next action. So it's so important that you do have them times of enjoyment, because otherwise, what's the point in doing it? For me, like life, you've got to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you have to enjoy it.
One thing to kind of counteract what you guys are saying, and obviously, I don't know your brother personally, but you saying to him, like, I don't know, step away, take some time, enjoy your life, like, you've worked so hard. What might give him the most fulfillment and happiness and joy in his life could just be working on his business.
Could be the next action.
Obviously, I don't know him personally, so I can't say that. You might show this to him, he might agree and disagree, but that might be what brings him the most happiness over anything else. Yeah. And he might just need a quick recharge with reading a book or some Netflix at the end of the day, or whatever that is. I don't know. I feel like that's...
No, I think you're right, to be fair.
Like, playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, of course. I think, you're probably spot on. Like, my brother treats his business like his baby.
Shout out Broski, by the way. Yeah. He told us about your business before we started, and it's dope. So congrats.
You are right. Like, that could be his sense of enjoyment. But it's doing like the stuff. I think with any business, he'll have his things that he'll really love doing, and then he'll have his things that he probably doesn't necessarily enjoy doing. So yeah, like you could be right. Like he might just take like an hour or two. He might just go and do his own session. That's his enjoyment. I not necessarily see that, but yeah, I think it's fine. We all have our own things that we enjoy, and for me, it's being social and spending time with friends and maybe playing golf or being with my family. But yeah, for other people, it could be working on the business and that next sort of action. I think for me, it would just be nice to maybe just see him like when something has gone really well, or maybe potentially when he opens up that new gym, of just seeing him like just stepping back and just looking at it and going, that's what I've achieved. Like that's brilliant. Like just going, right, that's what I've achieved. Have that sense of fulfillment. And then you go again, I want to achieve more.
I feel like sometimes...
Kind of like imposter syndrome, isn't it?
I feel like sometimes that takes someone else to action that, though. I'm going to give you an example. I don't know whether it correlates too much, but I was in Cyprus. So that's where me and Chris are from. Like, my family lived there, stuff like that. And there was one day, from my mom's side of the family, everybody was at the beach. And I went to my granddad. I was like, have you ever sat and thought and looked at everybody? There was like 30 of us at the beach. There's loads of us. I was like, have you ever sat and thought that everybody here came from you? Yeah. And he sat back for a minute and he was like, how do you know? Yeah, I haven't. But he had this moment where
accent
he was
is
just
spot on, by the way. It's actually spot on.
He had this moment where he was just like incredibly proud and like took 30 seconds. Like I'm probably deeping it a little bit more, like he's like grown, like old Greek man, whatever. But maybe it takes someone like you going to your older brother and just being like, I don't know, like, this came from you. Yeah. And he might have never realized it, but you've made him, and he'll be like, oh, you know what, like, you're right, like, I'm changing all of these people's lives. Yeah.
I can second that example from even like earlier on in this conversation when you told us that you had 137,000 followers. Yeah. And I stepped back and clapped, and you went a bit shy.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah, it's when sometimes you talk about self-praise. You do. Yeah.
But if you looked at your account now, and you looked at some of your analytics and you looked at some of the brand deals that have come through, that might be your day-to-day now. That's normal, right? But if you showed that to you this time last year on your measly 8K, you would have been like, yo, like, bro, what? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's always next action.
Yeah.
Because that's just as how we're kind of driven, as how we're wired as driven individuals. You're always looking for the next action, but it is important to also step back sometimes and be like, okay, yeah, I did that. Not take my foot off the gas, I did that, but yeah, I did that. What's next? Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that can give you the drive to then want to do even more. So yeah, definitely spot on with that.
I was going to say, it's really easy to kind of get lost in the process and the journey when you're so fixated on a goal.
Yeah, definitely. I think... Yeah, that could be something that I just say to him, because like I say, it's nice just to sort of see that, go, wow, that's what I've achieved. Like when I said to you, when I got that message a few weeks back with the guy, and obviously that sort of that hit me. I think I sort of had that little bit of a moment.
Can you share it for a bit of context for everyone?
So, it was a couple of weeks back. It was one of my videos. Someone reached out to me, and he unfortunately suffered a heart attack. And sort of he reached out to one of my videos, which was very brave of him to reach out, because like we said, there's probably people out there that don't feel comfortable reaching out and sharing their story. So thanks to this guy for coming out and sharing his story. And he was like, when he was bedbound and couldn't do anything, he's a goalkeeper as well. He used to watch my videos, and that gave him inspiration to want to keep fighting and want to get out and playing on the pitch. And he's made a good recovery, and he's in that process of getting out on the pitch. And when I read that, I was like, wow, like they're the reasons, not to begin with why you do it, but actually they're the true reasons of why you do it. That the impact I've now had on that person, that I sort of had that moment where I stepped back and gone, I've created that, and it hit me, and it gave me that weird feeling which none of us can describe in our stomachs. That's that sense of, I was just very proud of what I've done with that, and I was very grateful to that person who reached out, because as much as it's brilliant and I've helped him, and I'm so happy with that, he's now actually helped me being able to reflect on what I've achieved and what I've built, especially in being in the place where I was a year or maybe just over a year ago to now, I'm helping someone recover from a life-threatening, don't call it injury, but incident. So to do that is, that's when I had that moment. I was like, wow.
It's amazing, bro. Yeah. That's amazing to be able to impact somebody like that.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you that there's more people that you've impacted, maybe not on that scale that kind of gone through that same level of adversity, let's say. But 100% you are inspiring people and you're motivating people, even down to the little things of like, H will do it for me.
Yeah.
If I've rolled out of bed on a late morning and he's already ran 10K, I'll fucking get up, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know, it happens on a daily basis. This will happen to you. You have affected so many people. And I mentioned it to you as well. Like when we received those messages of you inspired me to start my business or you inspired me to try something, like it is an undescribable feeling in your belly where you're like, fuck, I actually had such an impact on somebody when I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of people love coaching, and I've known a lot of coaches, and I've sometimes struggled to see where they see the maybe love for it. They're out in the freezing cold, it's chucking it down, and maybe giving them a bit of attitude. I'm like, oh, why would you want to do that? And the same sometimes with teachers, some of the grief they get, but that feeling that you get when one of your children or one of your pupils or one of your players has then succeeded, or that they've done something. When I've done a bit of coaching, I've taught someone a skill, and then you go see them do it in a game, you're like, oh my God, I taught them that.
Yeah.
So that sense of feeling that that's especially for me, I love helping people and wanting to help. So when I had that, it was, they say that feeling is just like, wow, you can't really beat that.
Yeah. Before we round off, brother, I just want to ask to any young aspiring footballer or just anybody that wants to be great at their craft, what would be your one piece of advice to that person?
I would say is try and, like I say, enjoy the moments. I think whenever we look back at our lives or our careers or what we've done, it's always defined in moments. So it's important that when you have them little wins, that you pat yourself on the back, because in our generation, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily want to see us succeed. There's a lot of people out there that when you're doing well, want you to fail. There's not many people that want to praise you. So it's important, one, that you try and surround yourself with good people. That's really tough. Like when your friends do well, support them, well done. Shouldn't be jealous. But in our generation, I think that's so tough. So it's important that you give yourself self-praise. When you've done something well, pat yourself on the back, and then next action. We spoke about it a lot. It's so important that if you want to be successful, you've got to just keep going. Like I say, that next action is so important. You can't just settle for where you're at. And also when you are really low, you've got to do them things that build you up. So yeah, that next action, I think, where we spoke about, that is my bit of advice to anyone want to succeed with anything, and especially football, because things happen in a blink of an eye in football, in whether that be a moment in a game or whether that be a contract offer or whether that be an injury. Things happen so quickly. So it's important that we do that next action, and we always try and succeed. And if you've had 3 bad actions, okay, let's try and improve the next one. And it's just finding out where you are in that time and going, okay, what can I do to be better next time?
I love that, bro. Good answer. I just want to say before we actually round off, you speak very, very beautifully. First of all, for somebody at your age. Second of all, for a goalkeeper.
I was going to say thank
Genuinely,
you. Genuinely,
you articulate very well, and I think like your mindset, your head frame, and the way that you, like, I believe everything that you say, and I don't think I would if I thought you were full of shit. So like, hats off to you, bro.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
and I'm
it.
sure you're gonna figure it out one way or another.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. That's been good fun.
Legend. Thank you for
pleasure,
coming
man.
down,
Appreciate
brother.
it.
Thank you guys for watching and listening. For all of our guys on Spotify, make sure you leave us a rating and a follow if you haven't already. And for all you guys on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn the bell notification on so you get notified every time we release a podcast. And we'll see you all next week.
Love, guys. Catch us later.
Peace!